A few days ago, Nintendo dropped the news that The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons are now available to play on the Game Boy app for Nintendo Switch Online. I'm here to do my civic duty to pass on the message that you should play these underappreciated Zelda titles. Good news too, since the games are in the Game Boy app, they're included in the base subscription of Switch Online, so no expansion pack required. If you've ever seen or played Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, Oracle of Ages and Seasons will look very familiar. But while these games may look similar to the 1993 classic, the Oracle games are neat because they were developed by Flagship, a developer funded by a combination of Capcom, Nintendo, and Sega. I think it's most commonly associated with Capcom, and their name is what you see when you open up the game next to Nintendo. Flagship ended up porting Link to the Past to the GBA, as well as developing Minish Cap, another great game on Switch Online you ought to give a go. I have a special connection to these games because as far as I know and as far as I can remember, Oracle of Ages was my very first video game. I played it on my Atomic Purple Game Boy Color, the best Game Boy Color, and I have fond memories of wandering around not knowing what on earth I was doing because I could barely read back in 2001 when this game came out. And yeah, 2001. These games came out right before the release of the Game Boy Advance, which released that same year. As much as I liked this game, I did not fully appreciate it until I played it several years later and was actually able to finish it. Since then, I've played it 2 or 3 times all the way through, but I didn't get around to playing Seasons for the first time until I downloaded it on the Doorstopper 2DS through the Virtual Console. Rest in peace. But that game is just as good. The Oracle games are an interesting experiment in the Zelda series. At first glance, this may look like a Pokemon Red and Blue situation, but Oracle of Ages and Seasons are 2 different games taking place in 2 different worlds with different characters and items to find in your journey. These games aren't twins, but they are related through a shared password system that you can carry your Link's journey from one game to the other in a somewhat connected story. So playing Ages, you'll be saving Nehru, the Oracle of Ages, from the evil Varin in Labrynna, and in Seasons, you'll save Din, the Oracle of Seasons, from Onyx in Holodrum. But after finishing either game, you'll get a password you can input into the other to start a linked game. This linked game lets you start the game with a 4th heart, and you'll keep your same name as well as a couple other aspects from your first journey. And in this linked game, you'll get to interact with Princess Zelda, which is normally not something you'll get to do in a regular save. For the most part though, you won't notice a huge difference until the end of the game, where you'll get to play a whole new last section, where you get a new sword and shield upgrade, and fight the true last boss, and I'll let you guess who that is. As well as some additional supporting cutscenes and the like. My advice though is to cheat the system a bit and just Google some linked game passwords so you can play the full game on your first run. It's a cool idea to have you have to beat one game to carry into the next for the full true ending. Maybe not the most practical nowadays, and especially when the old internet can just help you out instead. These games have all the charm you'd expect from a Zelda game, along with the great level design and puzzles that have become all but synonymous with the series. The items are just as exciting to find and use to help on your journey as you would expect, and the Zelda theme and other great tracks coming out of that Game Boy Color, or in this case, the Switch, hit the ears just right as always. In Oracle of Ages, you'll be solving puzzles going back and forth between past and present using your little magical harp, aptly named the Harp of Ages. Lots of fun ideas here you'd expect from a time-traveling game, changing things in the past to affect the future, getting to certain areas in one time and warping to the other to progress, you know the drill. But hey, you get to marry a tree in this one. Seasons works off a similar concept, but as you can probably guess, instead of time manipulation, you'll be changing the seasons with the Rod of Seasons. Really creative on the names here. Think of lakes being frozen or piles of snow blocking your path in the winter, and then changing to say spring or summer to change the environment around you to progress. A lot of these time and season-based puzzles will be helping out in the overworld, with the dungeons having more of your run-of-the-mill 2D Zelda problems to solve. But as great as Oracle games are though, I do have some words of warning, and if you've ever played any other Zeldas in the Game Boy or Game Boy Advance, you're probably aware of this issue, and that is the 2-button issue. Burdened by the hardware it was released on, and only having 2 face buttons, you're going to be switching out equipment constantly in both of these games to solve puzzles and explore the world. And if you're like me, you're probably going to want that sword locked to the B button at pretty much all times, so really you only have room for one piece of equipment at a time. Personally, I kind of eventually get used to this, opening the menu and switching almost absent-mindedly when needed, but it can be hard to come back to this initially when used when you get used to the later games, you have more face button options allowing for more items at the ready at all times. If you just got done playing Tears of the Kingdom and want to play some classic Zelda, I urge you to give these a go for your next adventure. They are very traditional. You're going to go dungeon to dungeon, finding keys and items, solving puzzles, killing bosses, and it's great. As much as I like the Switch Zeldas, the new open format of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom does make the old formula feel special again and worth going back to. Something about the handcrafted puzzles and unique dungeons and tons of different bosses really works for me. I think the Oracle games are no different and they don't get talked about enough. This is a great chance to play two excellent games you may have missed, and there's a good chance you already have access to them without having to pay anything more than you already are. You could probably knock them both out in a combined, say, 30 to 40 hours, so they could keep you busy for a while, but I don't think they overstay their welcome. Thanks for watching. I'm really excited to play through these games again, and I think I'll do Seasons first because I'm a little less familiar with it, and then I'll finish up Ages next. If you've played either of these games, or if you've always wanted to, let me know in the comments what you think of them. If you like this video, a thumbs up would mean the world to me, and if you want to subscribe, that would mean the world to me even a little bit more. I'm trying to keep up at least one new video a week, and it'd be cool if you stuck around and see what the next one was as well. But anyhow, thanks again for watching, and see you next time.